What's going on, everyone? Good morning. Great morning. It's Thursday. Grateful for it. Grateful for all of you. What an exciting session we have ahead of us. We're going to dig deep into the technicals. We're going to take a look at the bigger picture. We're going to cover it all. We're going to do our best to make sure that we come out of here with the clarity that we love. What else? I saw something over here about Ken and the conversation with Ken that took place yesterday. It was absolutely extraordinary. You don't know how much I enjoyed that. I cannot wait to share it with all of you. I don't think it'll be Saturday morning. It's something for like Saturday morning and coffee, hearing Ken talk about the markets. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a fantastic one. It was fantastic. That's Ken Stanfield over there, and you're going to love him. You're absolutely going to love him over there. Listen, what else are we looking at? The 1 year anniversary of Honeymoon. Is that true? That's beautiful. That's beautiful over there. All right, let's get into it. Let me pull up some charts. Let's see what's going on over there. We're all looking at breakout, retest, resumption. I saw a super chat in there. Just want to say thank you so much. I can't even see the message yet. I'm going to come back for it. Here it is. Can you confirm Tesla's bullish breakout for me? Second opinion, is Tesla breaking out? Are they getting those solar tiles out, or are they having trouble? What's Elon doing? Is Elon sweating and feeling the pain? I have no idea. Yeah, we'll take a look at that at the end of the session over here for sure. Right now, we're going to focus on Bitcoin, the most important trade that matters. And as we look over here, we're watching what? We're watching this trend line break out, right? And then we came in for the retest, right? Here's the retest of that broken trend line, holding as support and then resumption off. Yep, that is the first sign of a possible repair, right? We have a repair underway with the resumption. Does it mean it's going to stick, right? This is the place that you want to jump in here and just like go like highly leveraged. I'm ready to get going. Let's go. Come on. We have no idea what's going to happen. This is the first sign of a repair. What needs to happen for this to be looking a little bit better? Let's take a look at that. Let me zoom out a little bit, right? Here's what needs to happen next. We need to come into the area of, let's say, $36,300. Let me go ahead and just connect these dots over here. And then you can see that we should at least, if we're having any, let's say, semblance of a healthy market over here, we need to come in and we need to test this trend line that should act as resistance, right? Now, that's also a couple of other things are happening in this trend line over here around 36,000, 36,300. You can see it's a little bit of resistance horizontally. You can just follow the crosshairs of my mouse. That's a small local resistance. It's not a big deal, right? The trend line is a big deal, right? Now, what about on the 3-day? Look at this. If I jump over to the 3-day, you will see that's coinciding with this area over here with the 3-day finally making a higher high, right? So we want to not only come into there, we want to actually take it out. And if we take out that area, that trend line over there, things are looking a little bit better, right? Things are looking very poor underneath this current, that trend line over here. And when I say that trend line, I want to point it out to you. This trend line over here, as prices underneath it, it's very weak right now. It's very, yeah, that's a positive sign to see the trend line break out, retest, and resuming it off. But things are weak and fragile down here. They're not looking good. I want to pull up over here. This, we're coming into the resistance. We're coming into our clone trend line resistance of the most important trend line in crypto. When we break out of here, I do not know. Things are unclear, right? Things are muddied, and we're just waiting for clarity. And it's a time to be patient. And there's nothing wrong with being patient. Actually, it's an edge. Right now, you have an edge by being patient and waiting for that momentum to return in order for you to continue. Now, it depends on what strategy you are deploying. I'm speaking to an audience of vast knowledge and experience. Some with excessive knowledge and some who are just here to begin learning on their journey, right? Now, you have to understand, excuse me 1 second, when you allow me a sip of water so my voice could return. All right. Thank you for that. What a joy to be here with you all this morning. Really excited about that. Getting over this trend line, by the way, I'm talking from a trader standpoint right now. Like, things are looking a little bit better. That's like the breathing line. Getting above here, you can kind of let like out a little bit of breath. Things are looking better. A lot of work to do in this whole area. A lot of work. And if you just clone these trend lines, you're going to see the symmetry of the market connecting the whole way through. I could just go ahead and pick that last local top over there. You can see the touch right into that line. It should be a little bit higher. So I'm going to make it a little bit higher towards that peak, that wick peak right? And then you can see, look at the touch of the resistance in this area. Over here, it was again resistance. Here is support. And that happens throughout, all the way throughout. And also on the downside. Like you see on the downside over here, how that trend line, the clone trend line was in play over there. It happens all throughout. I'm trying to keep things simple. And by simple, I'm focused on this current line over here that for 1 month we couldn't break, right? Then when we broke above it, we came in for the retest and it didn't hold. But then on the way up, it was holding as resistance again. So it's an important line. It's a line, like a milestone line that, for things to be looking a little bit better, not great, not ready to jump in, but a little bit better, we want to break above that. Get above that, great, things are looking better. Right now, as we're below it, as I said yesterday, we're just coming in for a retest of resistance. And you could see that price was rejected in that area. Came back in though, but made a higher low. And I want to point that out to you. Look at that little bit of resistance. That's what we came in. That's nice to see the higher low that's taking place. It's the first sign of like some type of improvement, but there's no need to get excited yet by any means whatsoever. The market has to prove itself. It's got a long way to go. It could take a while till we break out of here, right? Once we break out of here, then we can say the momentum's returning. And listen, just as it could take a while through the end of the summer into the fall, right? Or it could happen relatively soon. We'll see what happens. We're watching it. But right now, we have that posture of patience, not getting too excited over here, waiting for the market after breaking down massively to put in the repairs needed to be looking healthy again. It's not a healthy looking chart, right? Now, zoom out, at any particular point in time. And of course, it's a very healthy looking chart, right? Let me throw up the log scale. I mean, we're looking at Bitcoin, right? And there are some people who are like, listen, Bitcoin's always been in a bull market. They're not wrong, but we break it down, with those 210,000 blocks, every 210,000 blocks, we call it the 4-year cycle, right? Really, what is it? It's 3 years and 9 months, give or take. It's every 210,000 blocks. We get a halving event of the miner's reward, and it sets off the next phase over here. We'll take a look at that a little bit later. Right now, let's focus in. Let's see what else is going on over here. As we have some exciting news, by the way, let me jump ahead, right? We have Paraguay, little Paraguay right above Argentina. It's a very poor country, by the way. Is announcing a bill that will make Bitcoin legal tender, right? Also encouraging mining with renewable energy sources. How they're going to achieve that, I'm not really sure. But either which way, it's happening. El Salvador adopted Bitcoin. Paraguay is adopting Bitcoin. Who's next? That's the question. Panama, Chile, Argentina. It's the dominoes. It's how it works, right? Let me go ahead and refresh this page over here so you can see the small little domino, El Salvador, and then Paraguay, and then Brazil. They're all, this is how it works. How a small movement turns into a revolution. This is a Bitcoin maximum, right? A Bitcoin meme. First gradually, and then suddenly. And it's unfolding a little quicker than we all expected, right? It's unfolding, and it's beautiful. By the way, what else? I think one other thing I wanted to share. This is not so small. This is not so small, right? Look, you have the VC out of the Valley, Andreessen Horowitz, tripling down on crypto with a new $2.2 billion fund, right? If you're not familiar with Andreessen Horowitz, what is it? It's AK16, right? What's the name of the fund? I forget. I'm not really sure. But look at some of the investments we have over here. Airbnb, right? Facebook, Groupon, Lyft, Pinterest. Oh my goodness, Coinbase, Slack. Do you think these guys know what they're doing over here? You got people worried, Bitcoin down to $32,000. They're selling their Bitcoin, but what are the big boys doing? What are the big boys doing over here? $2.2 billion fund, jumping back in. It's not their first fund. GitHub, Instagram, Skype. Do you think they know what's going on over here? It's a bullish case for Bitcoin. All right, let's come over here. Let's find out what's going on in the markets, because I hear talk again of some perma bears, right? Not really understanding why the markets are at new all-time highs. They're really kind of salty about it. We have Mohammed, right? Disappointing U.S. data with a small fall in jobless claims again. right? Remember, the Fed has to be there until the jobs return. The jobs are not yet returning. It's something we're watching and waiting for. We had JP Morgan telling us, right, by the summer we were going to see some obnoxious return of jobs. We looked at the chart. I could pull it up. I'll pull it up tomorrow for you. And we said, you know what? We have to pay attention to see if that's what happens. I would be surprised, but listen, we have to. It hasn't started happening yet. The Fed is still there. The Fed is doing what the Fed does. What are they doing? Well, they're verbally intervening in the market. They're talking about raising the rates at some point 2 years from now, and the markets are like, oh. And then you started seeing everyone, not everyone, but a significant amount of people talking about like the markets are going to crash. This was all just 1 week ago. 1 week ago, everyone out there, or a large, loud fold, is like telling us the markets are going to crash. And I was like, we haven't seen any technical breakdowns. Here we are now back towards about to print a new all-time high on the S&P 500 and also on the Nasdaq. Do you remember I held the line right over here? I said, no, we're coming down into support of a rising wedge. If it breaks down, if we lose the support, that's a bearish breakdown. That's something that we have to watch and follow, but that hasn't happened yet. And now all of a sudden we're testing the top resistance. If we break out over here, we have to watch for some type of, let's say, interim blow off top. We'll watch it, and it could get pretty hot from here. People are looking at certain readings, and they're like, you know what? Anyway, these things could get hot and go for a little while, especially when they do. We have to follow the technicals. There's no opportunity for us to take positions, and I could say that as, look, the last 2 times there was opportunities, CTM was all over them, and we did like master classes on what was happening. If you're in the trade, what are you doing? You're waiting for that breakdown to take profit. You all seen that happen on silver lately, as we got into the trade, and then when we broke down, we exited the trade. There's no time to enter the market. A lot of people want to enter up here as they're watching the Nasdaq print new all-time highs. A lot of people want to enter over here as the S&P is about to print a new all-time high. That's not how it's done. It's the same thing on Bitcoin, and it will be the same thing on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to print a new all-time high, right? And when Bitcoin prints the new all-time high, a lot of people are really going to be interested in buying Bitcoin up at $65,000, which is great because it's going to continue carrying us forward, right? We want to make sure that we continue to have the perspective we need in order to make sure that we are preemptive of what's happening over here. And now's not a time, by the way, just so everyone is on the same page as me, if you are waiting to start trading Bitcoin, right? If you are waiting to open up some nice positions on Bitcoin, by the way, we all know because I have a history of videos online as an archive showing it. No one did it better, pointing out the time for the technical breakout and then trading all the way up, right? Listen, let's call it as it is. Now's not the time to be trading. Breaking out over here, whenever you break out, whether it's $47,000 or whether it's $37,000 into September, that's still way early. That's preemptive. Right now, you are taking on more risk than is warranted and or needed to try to pick a bottom. That's not what we're doing over here. Now, at the same time, I just want everyone to be aware from my perspective, right? And my average cost of my average buy-in, right? It's probably a lot lower than most of you all, especially if you're just new to Bitcoin in 2021, right? And you've been buying Bitcoin in 2021, right? Now, I'm buying the dip over here. Over the last few weeks, I purchased at 39,000 and I purchased at 33,500, right? I'm buying the dip over here. I view this as an opportunity. That's not trading. I'm buying those positions, what I believe to be mid-cycle, looking to exit those positions at the top of the Bitcoin bull market. That's my time preference on those trades. Do I think now's a good time to be buying Bitcoin all day long? Do I think now's a good time to be dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin? Of course. Let's take a look at it a little further. Before we do, I just want to jump over to the DXY. We're going to have a nice FX session in a little bit. I will hit that up. I will send the link out on the CTM Discord. That will be at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, and we'll get going with that. We'll get further into the dollar then, but I just want to check in with you all, right? We're in downtrend, coming into area of resistance, horizontal resistance, being rejected, coming in for a retest now. Let's take a look at that, right? Again, everyone knows breaking the Raoul line, the neckline over here of the reverse head and shoulders. That's something that we have to pay attention to. Then we're seeing a big technical break. It's not happening right now. Right now, we're seeing this downtrend that we're in, and we're seeing price come into resistance, and it's being rejected by that horizontal resistance, right? Now, it's so far being rejected, coming back down. Look where my mouse is. Do you see the resistance here? Is that now support? I think so. It looks like support, right? Do you see that was then a decent line over here? It acted as support before, resistance in that area, right? And the market's paying attention to it a little bit higher than the trend line break. The market could still come all the way back down here, and this could hold as support. And if that does, and we resume off of it, then Will's trend line over here, connecting us to where the Fed intervened. This was the dollar milkshake theory playing out in real time. This was a dollar shortage happening, and the dollar milkshake theory is a real thing. And it was happening. And it could happen again in the future, for sure. There's no question about it. But right now, we're looking at excessive dollars in the system. We have a crisis, or not a crisis. We have an issue in the system, but it's the reverse. Instead of in this moment, a lack of dollars, we have an excess of dollars, right? So how is the dollar pricing that in right now? Well, the dollar is kind of like what? It's sideways for an extended period of time. We're watching it in its move. It's too soon to call a move on the dollar. It's simply too soon. So we're waiting and we're watching. All right, let's talk about some good stuff over here. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everyone. I know I forget to ask often, but listen, please go ahead and smash that like button if you enjoy the work we do and how we're doing it. You know, if you enjoy this community, all the love that it brings, all of the support, all of the kindness, go ahead and smash that like button, get it fired up. If you're watching this on the replay, so glad that you are here. Keep the comments coming. You know I read them all because I respond to them all. At least show love to them all. That's for sure. All right, let's make this a little bit interesting right now. Let's make this a little bit of interesting. How are we gonna do that? We're gonna hang out a second and we're gonna bring it down a notch and really focus. This is really important. What you're looking at here is the price of Bitcoin since 2012, layered up on top of each other. You're looking at Bitcoin's 4-year multiple. Okay, this is now for those who don't see the 4-year cycle, right? And again, it was defined earlier in this session. It's every 210,000 blocks. When I say 4-year cycle, it's not that every cycle lasts 4 years. There's differences in them, right? But they last approximately 4 years. It's just easier to say. And I want everyone to understand that. If you're still having trouble seeing the model, the 4-year cycle, and understanding it, well, try looking again. Try looking again at it. If you can't see the symmetry that's occurring and taking place, right? You know, keep staring until it clicks for you. All right? Listen, a couple of things I want to focus down over here at the bottom, and you're looking at price the multiple 4 years later, right? Let's start with something everyone's familiar with right over here in March 18th, 2021. The price of Bitcoin was $58,500, okay? Most of you have been in Bitcoin long enough to remember when that happened, right? So what else? Now, go back 4 years earlier, you know, price was at $1,000. We saw a 58x in 4 years. It's not the first time that you saw that type of behavior occur. We're looking at the top portion over here. Let's call it the resistance of this 4-year multiple. We'll look at the support in a second, or the lower bound is a better way to say it. You could go back over to here. A lot of you are familiar with the summer of 2019. Price was at $13,000. Now go back 4 years earlier, right? By the way, this is when I started doing all the research I could on Bitcoin, which included at that point watching a lot of documentaries on things like Hulu, right? Any information I could find on Bitcoin, I was watching at that point. It wasn't until about a year later, into the summer of 2016, I purchased my first Bitcoin. That was actually over here. Bitcoin was a little higher, about $650, right? This is all for perspective. Let's take a look at this. 4 years later, though, right? Look at the price, another 53x. Let's go back to this one. Everyone's familiar with the top of the Bitcoin bull market in December of 2017. Bitcoin trading at $19,000. 4 years earlier, Bitcoin at $500, a 37x. This is the lower bound, right? This is an anomaly. We take away this one, 125x. We're not focused in on looking that one over here, okay? Now at the lower bounds, you're seeing that occur also. You're seeing as Bitcoin gets somewhere around, is 5x an anomaly? Probably an anomaly because we were seeing that huge spike up over here in 2013 and then the big 83% drawdown intraday, 70% on the daily. But that's an anomaly. That's an anomaly. We can remove those and we'll just focus in on this area over here. Bitcoin is now towards the lower bound over here, trading at $32,000. Now, what do you think Bitcoin is going to be trading at, you know, when we reach the top bound over here? And is that top bound going to be this fall? Is it going to be September, October, November, in that range? You know, are we going to be back looking at a potential, 50x, or when will that be? 4 years from now? 4 years from now, I think is a safe bet to say we're going to be back towards this top bound over here, or less than 4 years. Bitcoin $1,280,000. You might not believe it. You might not, but it's happening anyway. The time is coming. When I say time, is 4 years is going to pass. You're either going to be here or you're not. But if you heard this today, 4 years or whenever it happens, I'm not trying to place the exact time on it. I imagine it's 4 years from now. When you look at what happens from the bottom to the top, from the bottom, this is a little bit longer, right? From the bottom to the top, 4 years from now, I think is a safe, let's say a safe bet to make that Bitcoin is going to be trading not at the lower bound, at the upper bound over here, right? By the way, this was mid-cycle over here. Go back over here to 2000. Well, I'm going not in 2019. I want to be in 2017, right? Over here, this is mid-cycle. This is Bitcoin at the upper end of the bounds over here. What about over here in 2019? 2019, that's a bear market, right? Interesting that we had a 50x 4 years just in the bear market from the previous 4-year bear market at the top end. Interesting. I'm just making observations. What I'm getting at over here, though, is that my investment thesis is following the cycle of Bitcoin, right? If you look at it this way, it's very helpful. By the way, maybe this is 2013. I tweeted to you yesterday that a lot of people, a lot of early Bitcoin adopters had a much better understanding of the adoption taking place in the future and therefore the future price, right? And what is being said back here, it may be interesting to compare to smartphone adoption, S-curve, and the total population. Slope is similar from a technology adoption perspective, right? If you assume all fiat, I don't, being replaced, then 1 million Bitcoin is not even close to enough. Look over here, we have Raul now going back to what the boys were doing back in 2013, comparing this to a technology standpoint, right? You have over here, the white line is the adoption of the World Wide Web, of the internet. Where we are right now is the equivalent of 1997. This is pre-AOL. This is before America Online got out to the masses, by the way. This is when the pioneers, well, a little bit earlier is when the real pioneers were. But back in 1997, you were still a pioneer. You were way early on the internet. Now, I remember connecting to the World Wide Web with a dial-up modem on AOL. That was my first experience. And I was late, but I was way early because the majority of the users on the internet right now, they never even connected through dial-up. They never even heard of dial-up or have that experience. We're there on Bitcoin, right? And by the way, there will come a point in time when we're seeing diminishing returns in Bitcoin, right? They'll still be really hefty, but they'll be diminishing. But we're not even close to that at this particular moment. Actually, we're so early with an $800 billion market, right? One of the milestones I do look at happening is when Bitcoin overtakes the market cap of gold, roughly $500,000 per Bitcoin, right? When that happens, it's still so early. Bitcoin is not stopping there. It's going for a larger share of that M1 supply. We're not talking a $5 trillion market. We have countries adopting it as we speak. Today is Paraguay. Yesterday it was El Salvador. Who will it be tomorrow? Forget Latin America, as Latin America. And by the way, could you imagine what's going to happen in Latin America as the fruits start bearing and all the other countries see what's happening over there, and how instead of continually being, let's say, plummeted by the current financial system, by the oppressive nature of the IMF and what the dollar is doing to them, it steals their money, and they see these other countries beside them starting to gain prosperity. Do you not think it's going to catch like wildfire? How soon until we have a country over in Asia adopting Bitcoin? It's going to happen. The giants before us played this out. They game played it out way before us. What else are we looking at? I like to look at this chart. You all know I love the pretty colors. This one's done a little bit different. Instead of looking at months and color coordinated to months, it's done with days to the next halving. And I want you to focus in this area we are in right now. And the reason I want you to focus in on this area is because in the past, right? Now, listen, this is a model to help you foresee what the future might look like consulting the past. Why would you do that? How is that possible? Well, you have coded monetary supply, unlike with the US dollar and the Federal Reserve, where you could have Jerome last week talking about like these dot plots and whatnot, and how they like plan on like arbitrarily changing them, and then it drastically affecting the bond market and the dollar and all markets. Here we know it is going to happen. We have our own dots, but you can't mess them up. Like they turn colors, because it's coded monetary supply, right? So if you're not following what's going, oh, but it's supply and demand. Listen, there's a limited supply. That's the whole deal. It's Bitcoin. There's only 21 million things, and there's an enormous demand because we're seeing not only funds, $2.2 billion, their third fund jumping in. The institutions are here. Not only public companies, it's just beginning. You're now seeing countries, right? The demand is because the current system, everyone is seeing it for the fraud it is. Everyone understands that their purchasing power continues to decline. And if you're not seeing the matrix, it's time you saw the matrix. This is the purchasing power of the dollar. It's not going to rebound and turn around. Don't think that's going to happen. It's going this way as it continues to lose the reserve currency status. Now, the dollar's not going away. The dollar's going to be here, but it's going to play a less and a less and a less of a worldwide. Now, will you see the digital yuan start taking away some of that market share? Of course. Will you see the euro continue to take away some of that market share? Of course. Will you see Bitcoin begin to participate in a little bit more of that market share? It's happening. Countries are adopting it. They're leaving the dollar. They're doing it for Bitcoin. Watch what happens in the future. And then you have this coin over here, right? The one with the limited supply, the scarce asset over here. And you can see it's referred to as the black hole that's taking everything else in with it. If you're thinking diminishing returns at this point as Bitcoin is $32,000, I think what you're missing over here is that if the dollar continues to slide, as the US continues to use the financial system as a weapon, and countries like Russia's no El Salvador, as countries like Russia are like, okay, we're not holding any dollars in our reserves anymore. We're not trading in dollars. We're not dealing in dollars. As they abandon it, it's going to accelerate to the downside, right? Now, don't worry. That's the whole plan. Do not think that the boys over there, right, the families behind the Federal Reserve, the shareholders of the Bank of New York, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're fleecing not only the American people, but they're fleecing the world, and they're doing it on purpose. And yes, they're going to make the jump. They're going to jump the rails to the next system. But right now, what they're doing is they're taking and shaking everyone down for their last cent. That right there is the bullish case for Bitcoin. Some get it, some don't. That's all right. Oh, I'm about to get a little tough love over here in 1 second. Before we do, let's go jump over here back to where I was looking. We got 500 likes over here on 1,300 people. Thank you, everyone. That's a really high ratio. That says the work that we do here together is valued, right? What I'm looking at over here as we are approximately, let's call it 1100 days to the next halving event, right? When I look back at what happened in those past periods, right? Listen, it's not going to repeat itself. There's differences between this cycle and this cycle. There's a lot more similarities than there are differences. There's strikingly more similarities and different, and including in what we have of this current cycle so far. There's way, because remember, this is when we positioned in. It was back down here we positioned in over here when things were just turning blue. That's when we positioned in, and from here to here, it's the exact same thing. Why would you consult a model? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Why would you do that? And what happened going forward from this area over here, from where we are right now at 1100 days? Well, if I fast forward to the bear market, that happens to be approximately where the low is, right? That happens to be approximately always a little bit higher, always a little, where I have my low for the coming bear market is somewhere around, it was $50,000 when I said, you know what? I don't know exactly where it is, but I believe it's going to be right around here. Here's another perspective seeing, so you could see exactly how that works. Take the area we're in right now, go over to the right, and you could see over here, the green over here turning dark green. That's where the bear market low is put in. Really helpful looking at this in days, not just months. You all know that I did a lot of work here with Plan B's chart, showing how many more months to the next halving color-coded. I do like the days. It gives a much better edge because the dark green, which is about 15 months on Plan B's chart, is where it turns dark green. It's the light green over here. You see the capitulation, the bottom of the bear market. It's good. I like it, and I want to share it with you. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to have a meetup. That's for sure. We're definitely going to have a meetup. Let's do this. You should look at models, but also, Edward, don't tell me what, Edward, you should look at models. Not only should you look at models, you should follow models and position accordingly. It's changed my life. The money I made in markets prior was so good and led to a comfortable life. But it wasn't life-changing money. Life-changing money was by following a model. And listen, if you didn't follow the model, you're not in step in there with me. So I understand you being like you shouldn't follow models, right? But listen, I'm following models. It has literally changed, me going from being able to take maybe one vacation a year to be able to support a family, for us to live comfortably, finally buy our own home. And all of a sudden it's like, a whole different level. Trust me, I highly recommend do your own due diligence, not financial advice, but following the model has worked for me, and I continue to follow the model, right? So careful and just, do your own research, make your own decisions, be informed. This is a tough one over here, but I want to go through it with you because it's also very important. When I say it's a tough one, I mean that, listen, the language is not something that I'm going to repeat throughout it. It's a little tough. I don't like it. The message, listen, take it for what it's worth, but be aware of it. I think it's a really good thread. I think a lot of people might take it a little bit harsh, right? Or a lot of people might not be ready for it, but we're going to do it together as a family really quick. And then we're going to come back and check out some charts. Helm's Deep. Thread 2, Helm's Deep, the Battle of Helm's Deep. It was a big one. You all remember, right? JR Token, the legend, right? So you're new to Bitcoin. One of the problems that I've experienced, and it was just my own fault, my own lack of awareness. We do these things every day, 5 days a week, and we've been doing it for over a year and a half. We've been doing it almost, in November, end of October, it'll be 2 years. So a year and a half. And I kind of assume that everyone is following every single show that we do together. So I feel like everyone has this same wealth of knowledge, this sea of knowledge, that stuff that we did and have, for months and months and months when it comes down to risk management and trade management, especially everyone who's joined up to be part of the CTM and get back into the course and see what's taught over there. I assume that if you're part of CTM, that you've taken the course and you've ingrained those principles into you. right? Now, regardless of what you do afterwards, right? Whether you start consulting fibs or moving averages or whatever it might be, right? Two things, right? When you start seeing, let's say a nucleus of people who have never been profitable in their life taking CTM principles and are profitable for their first time in their life, that's a big deal. That's truly a big deal, right? Now, if you keep going further, but you forget to go to your roots or where that change came from, that's on you. That's not on me. But I assume that if you're part, if you have the privilege to be part of CTM, that you've taken the time to work through all of the training sessions. I know it's a lot of material. It's over a year of weekly training sessions, right? I know that you're looking at past data going back a year in the Forex currency markets. But I assume that you did that and you ingrained those principles into you, right? So therefore, you know that every time you enter a trade, the first thing that you're doing in order to position that trade accordingly is know where your stop loss is, right? Not only know where your stop loss is, you're risking the correct position, right? And not only that, you're honoring every time. I assume that without question. But the thing is that there are a lot of people that are just joining us. They're joining us, they're new to Bitcoin. They might have purchased their first Bitcoin in 2021, or their first piece of a Bitcoin, I should say, in 2021. So I want to be a little bit more aware that people are coming from different perspectives, right? You might have bought Bitcoin at $58,000, right? And now you've gotten kicked. It really, really hurts. Welcome. You're now on your journey to becoming a full-fledged hodler, right? Man, look, here's the truth of it. If you are a hodler, if you are a Bitcoiner, right, that means that you've really been through it all. There's no question about that. Diamond hands can only be formed under pressure. When I was talking with Ken yesterday, he was talking about the recent dip. When I say recent dip, I mean just over here, right? This was just a couple of days ago, or even less than that, into $28,000. And he said that like people were really emotional, and it was really like, for me, I didn't have that experience, right? Like these hands are diamond hands. I've been through it, that doesn't come with that experience, right? Do you think that this was going to be easy, right? Let's keep going with this thread. It's a really good one. First things first, I said it's going to be a little bit hard. It's very tough love. This is not reflective of me. It's true, but this is something that needs to be shared with you, and you need to take it from just like a really like neutral place. Listen to what's being said. Whether you agree with it or not, I feel it's worthy to share with you, right? So stop crying. You got work to do, right? Now, empty the rest of your dry powder now, right? It's time to go all in. What does all in look like? Look, if you're out of cash and you still have a plasma TV, the whole Bitcoin meme, if you have a chair, you're doing it wrong. Now listen, some people understand and some don't, but what's going to happen is 4 years is going to pass, right? And if you're purchasing in Bitcoin right now, as you're seeing the multiple low, is it possible purchasing Bitcoin over at $33,000, right? As Bitcoin comes up, whether it's 40, 50x, eventually, whether it's 4 years, whether it's 2 years, whatever the case may be, right? You're either going to be there or you're not. You're either going to be there. Now, listen, don't invest any more money than you could afford to lose. It's the markets. There's no given. It's all risk. That's what trading and investing in the market is. It's taking on calculated risk. Now, if you know a better opportunity, we'll go for it. We'll go for it. Like if you think the stock market's going up, well, it's going up in dollar terms because the dollar keeps going down. It's not going anywhere in gold terms, but gold's not going anywhere either. Like that's not going to change your life investing in gold. You got to take risks, make sure they're calculated, right? Stop trying to pick the top. You think this is the top of Bitcoin? You think that Bitcoin adoption has failed, right? As what? Today Paraguay's talking about another country adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. I think I'm seeing a direction, and the direction is probably not the direction those who are calling Bitcoin has failed again for the umpteenth time, right? You got to get on the right side of the trade, and you got to do it with the proper perspective. By the way, let me just jump over here. this chart put out on the Bitcoin Talk forum in 2013. Like these guys, how did they do? Did they get it right? Right? Do you remember in November of 2017, they predicted a price of Bitcoin at $10,000? Well, I mean, they hit it. Bitcoin actually traded at $10,000 in 2017. Yeah, in the next few weeks, it traded massively above there, almost double. But that's what's meant to happen over here. We have a history of price overshooting to the upside and also on the downside during those bear markets coming below. What about next over? That was done, by the way, 3 or 4 years in advance. They nailed it. What about then going forward? What do they have over here in 2021? This is actually July of 2021. We got a price of 100,000 Bitcoin. Jordan, that's not looking like it. We're trading at 33,000 Bitcoin. You're telling me that the possibility exists that we could be going sideways, into September before breaking out the most important trend line than crypto. For sure, we're not going to see $100,000 Bitcoin in July. Well, of course, you're correct about that. I don't foresee that happening whatsoever. Now, listen, this was done, 8 years in advance. Maybe they're going to be off by a few months. Maybe they're off by a couple of months, but wait and watch what happens over here. All right, let's keep going. Let's go back to the thread over here. This is a good perspective, right? Bitcoin after the halving, right? Look, don't overthink it. Just dollar cost average. That's where we are right now. We're in a zone, which is an opportunity. You have an opportunity that you didn't have just a few months ago, because a few months ago the play was not to add to my spot, and it was not to dollar cost average in. I was already positioned in. Why was I positioned in? Well, because I was following the cycle, because I was following the model, and because I was following the model, I was able to call the bottom over here. I was not only able to call the bottom over here. It's on Twitter, December 2018. And then, about a month later, I called on Twitter, listen, in the next 90 days, you're going to see Bitcoin trade up to 8,400 as people were calling $15,000 and $1,000 Bitcoin. Boom. How do you do that without knowing a model or consulting a model? Well, that's what I would like to know, because if you're following price, right? If you're following price, there's no indication that you would be buying price down there. Absolutely none whatsoever. And everyone who positioned in when we started this channel and I started outlining the bullish case for Bitcoin, there was no reason to buy in spot Bitcoin at that point either. The only time there was an opportunity to buy into Bitcoin, right? That's when I pointed out to you that we had the technical breakout of the bull market, right? And hold on one second. This is going to get fun in 1 second. I had this trend line over here, right? And once we broke out over there, that's what over here in July 2020, yeah, that was the first opportunity you had for price showing you that there was time to get into the bull market. That's when I began my trading. And right now I'm saying to you, listen, right now is the opportunity to buy into spot. Don't trade. You trade when we get back above this line and you have momentum. Right? It's up to you to listen or not. If you want to consult those who have a history, and find out what's going on. What else did that bring me to or bring me back to? I don't know, but let me find it. I'll be back later. Evan, thanks for being here. Listen, you got it right. Now is the time. And if you don't have the money and you don't understand yet, you got to find out what's going on. If you got to sell your coffee cup, you got to sell your coffee cup. If now's not the time for you to be drinking coffee, you have to understand. Listen, let me give you a bit of perspective. Just come back not too long ago. We were in the area. Bitcoin was trading around $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, right? Family member goes ahead and buys a beautiful bicycle. Beautiful, like a $3,000 bicycle. They're not that well off, And I was in disbelief. What do you mean? Why didn't you buy Bitcoin? Nah, because you have to have fun. Life is for having fun. You got to enjoy it. You got to be out there. I'm going to buy Bitcoin. I'm going to get my bike and I'm going to be out there enjoying the life. Okay, fast forward a year later, things are hard. Times are hard. COVID hit. They're struggling. You would have been up massively. You got to think long term, even if it means right now that you got to live within your means, that you got to tighten things up, even if it includes eating ramen noodles, right? Now you have the choice. You could order the Chinese food, you could live life high on the hog, or you could start eating some ramen noodles and putting money away, saving that money, understanding over the course of the next 4, the next 7, the next 10 years, you have the opportunity to really do something different in your life. That's up to you. A lot of people don't like the easy way, the hard way. They like the easy way, and we keep going over here. It gets a little hard. Take a look at your diversified crypto portfolio. How many times have you heard me say Bitcoin is the rising tide that lifts all boats? And when the tide goes out, they all sink, right? It's all about Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with anything else. Yeah, of course, I was the first one to tell you Ethereum's going to outperform in the bull market phase. I was also the first to tell you when alt season was going to happen because I told you over a year in advance, and then I told you 6 months in advance, and then I told you as it happened before the price started going up on alts. I told you about the different alt seasons. How could I do that? Jordan, stop consulting models. Oh, all right. Let me not consult models, and I just keep getting lucky. How about them apples, right? But diversified crypto portfolio is no such thing. How's that working out for you right now, right? The meme coins, the gains, you're angry, right? Because, I don't even want to say the words, but, I get it. But it's time to dump all that for Bitcoin. You're a maximalist now. And I get it. A lot of you don't like to hear that word. That word, which was started by the founder of Ethereum, right? The co-founder of Ethereum, he used that as a derogatory term in order to gain more, how do you say, momentum for his own. So I get it has a bad connotation for you. That's fine. You're going to learn, right? You're not very good yet. You're new. You're going to learn, right? Let this be the hour when we draw swords together. The summer is going to be boring. Count on it. We're in, by the way, the dude over here, I'll just call him American Hodl. He's got experience. There's no question about that. You might not like his demeanor. You might not like the presentation, but he has experience. We're in reaccumulation period right now. It's going to be boring. Reaccumulation, I don't know when it ends. I don't know how long it takes, but I do know when it ends. And it ends when we break this line, right? It could be sooner. It could be later. I don't have that type of knowledge. I can't predict the future like that. All right. I know when things start looking better. I know when things are breaking down and looking worse. We're coming into resistance right now. Not, we got to break above it for things to be better. Right? Yeah. And then he says the ballers, right? The plebs, the people out there who are selling their chair to buy Bitcoin, right? They got to mop up all the coins. By the way, you have the big ballers. You have Andreessen Horowitz out there raising $2.2 billion. You have Michael Saylor just raised another $1 billion on top of another $500 million of debt. They're out there. They're mopping it up. The coins that the scared whales puked on the market, it takes time. Set up your auto dollar cost average. Go to the beach. Don't focus on price. Don't focus on price. Just do boom every week, every month, whatever I could do, buying in right now, understanding what is taking place and where we're going over here. But Mr. American Hodler, sir, is it true that Bitcoin will be worth $300,000 by year end? and listen, I'm not going to repeat the words. He's like, you bet on it, my little noob friend. You bet on it, Who else is sticking to their targets? Who else is sticking to their guns? Who else has it? Who else has stayed strong mid-cycle, right? I bet a fat English spook over it, and I don't intend on losing that bet. Listen, this is where it happens. The institutions FOMO in hard. The price begins pumping. You're not going to be there to enjoy that day unless you have the mindset right now of what is taking place. A lot of people are talking about some pretty scary things. You're hearing people talking about $20,000 Bitcoin. You're hearing people talking about $10,000 Bitcoin. It's scary. Bitcoin is off 50% in just weeks. People are talking about prices potentially going much lower. It's scary. I get it. I'm trying to give you the long-term perspective so you understand where this is going, because a lot of people are really going to want to buy Bitcoin up here as we come down back towards $65,000, right? Those people will be late. This is when, if you're a trader, you're buying it on the break of the trend line. That's preemptive. right? That's what we did on the Nasdaq. We talked about the last two corrections, the last two entries. Today, a lot of people want to buy the Nasdaq. Last week, everyone thought the Nasdaq was crashing. It was all over the place. Many of you, I heard you saying it too. And I said, I don't know. We don't have any type of technical breakdown to say that the equity markets are crashing yet. We'll watch. We'll see what happens, right? You want to be preemptive. Preemptive right now on Bitcoin is going to be breaking of this trend line. That's early. That's preemptive. Most are going to be late. Most are going to wait to $65,000. Right now, you're in a dollar cost average area. That's what I'm doing. I didn't time my spot entries at 39,000, 33,500. I'm dollar cost averaging, and I told you as I was doing it that I wasn't timing it, that I was just dollar cost averaging. That's where we are today, my friends. That's where we are today, and we're looking at where we're going tomorrow. I'm going to show this chart one day in the future. It will be years from now. I don't know how many of you will still be with me, right? It was put out. Someone said yesterday, you gotta kiss a lot of frogs in order to get the princes. We got a bunch of princes here. We got a bunch of people who their life has drastically changed in a short amount of time. Whether you're talking several months, a year and a half, that's nothing. That's a splash in the bucket of life. And to do the things that have been achieved in that short period of time, that's something else. But I'm going to be here 4 years from now. I'm going to be here at Bitcoin is at trading at $1.2 million. And I'm going to be walking you through, and I'm going to talk about this day, right? As Bitcoin was in the mid-cycle dip. Jordan, how could you say we're mid-cycle, right? Because all of a sudden now we're talking about shortening cycles, right? By the way, you're going to love Ken's perspective. You're going to love Ken's perspective as he talks about what's happening over here, as what we've been seeing is actually a lengthening in the bull market cycle, right? Still a firm believer. How could you not be a believer in the 4-year cycle with the halving of the mining reward being the most important catalyst, or one of the most important catalysts in the whole creation of Bitcoin? Now you have lots of stuff a lot of you don't understand, like the miner difficulty adjustment. Do you all understand what is taking place over these last couple of weeks? You've seen an enormous amount of hash power go offline. An enormous amount of hash power. And you've seen that being redistributed throughout the world, right? Almost instantly, it's occurring. You have miners elsewhere picking it up. You have the difficulty adjustment changing in real. I lost my trend line. Hold on. Oh no, I lost the most important trend line in crypto. It's over. There it is. We're getting a massive difficulty adjustment to the downside coming in the weeks ahead, in the days ahead, right? I expect price is going to bounce up over here. I don't know if price is going to bounce up over here though. That's why I rely on my TA. That's why I rely on what's happening in front of me, right? That's why I'm focused over here, and that's why I've been walking you through. That's why when we broke out over here and everyone wanted to get really aggressive, I said things are very unclear. Things remain very unclear. All right? Patience, and love. All right, everyone. I'm going to call it a session. I went a little bit longer than I expected. The reason I'm going to, cut it short here is I got to prepare for an FX session. I'm going to go ahead and I'll send that out by email, and I'll post it as I go live on the Discord announcements. I'll see you all then. We'll take it further. Thank you, everyone, for this day. Thank you for sharing it together. I will put some honeymoon on over here, some honeymoon vocals, and we'll close it out like that. Oh, Rich, you gotta rewatch it. You gotta rewatch it. You gotta rewatch it. You remember? You know what? I heard. I'm just reminded by Crazy Talk. And do you remember? Because it's on video. If you don't remember, But you could go back over here to September, right? You come back over here to September, price is trading at $9,000, $9,500, $10,000. And do you remember everyone was like, Jordan, you said by December we're going to be trading at $18,000. And I was like, yeah, 100%. We're going to be trading at $18,000 in December. There's no one following price and not consulting past models in the 4-year cycle that would be able to do that. There's no one thinking that price is going up 100% or 80% or 100, whatever it is, 90% in 3 months with no indication. Come on. If you're not consulting past models, you're way out of the game, but don't worry, you're going to see the matrix one day. Eventually, it's going to become clear to you, and you're going to see it. He's talking about lengthening bull markets and diminishing bear markets. I'm going to let Ken present it. You're going to see it on Saturday. It's a good one. Really, really appreciated all the time that he spent with us to help educate us and learn more. What about Tesla? Right, I wish I could stay here all day with you. I really do. I really enjoy it. I have to prepare for the training session though. I really do. What about Tesla? Right? What about Tesla? What about Elon? Right? Are they cashing in on those credits? So they getting that government cash? Are they selling anything? How are those roof tiles doing? Oh, wait. What about Tesla? For real? Oh, he's changing the world? Really? By sending rockets into the place, causing a massive amount of pollution? What about Tesla? I don't know. That's what I think. Someone was asking though, as we got on though, and they're like, listen, and they did a super chat and they were really interested what's going on. Let me go ahead and take this all off because it's been forever since I looked at her. Hold on one second. Boom. All right. What about Tesla? Well, here's the only thing I could say about Tesla, right? This is in hindsight. This is not being done in real time, right? What do we got about Tesla? We had a repair over here, right? That's an entry on Tesla, right? Are you stopped out? Probably not, unless you took this tight stop loss. Oh, I wanted to talk about Bitcoin with you. I'll do that in 1 second, right? What else do I see about Tesla, right? You got this over here, and that's a breakout occurring right now. That's clean, that's clear, that's hot, right? What about like precision though? I want to make sure I get it precise. What happens if I go off that cycle peak there? It's still a breakout. It's still a breakout. What does that mean? Is that a given? Is that a gimme? No matter what, you're going to get it right? No, you got to manage your risk off of it. Where's your stop loss? how you're setting your position size. If it were me, probably taking the swing low over here, right? That's a 3-to-1 just into the new all-time high. Is it a good trade? It could be. We don't know if it's going to work out. As you enter the trade, expect it's not going to work out. Expect that it's going to get stopped out, but so that way you do your thing, keep doing it right. And I'm also looking for one more repair though. I'm also looking for one more repair. Is that, I don't know. I can't say no. I can't say yes, but kind of breakout, retest, resumption. It looks good. It looks healthy, but here's the thing, and I want everyone to see it just as we get going over there because it's a great learning experience, right? Let me hold on. All right. Let's just do it like this, right? This is, you all know that's the aggressive entry. We did that on the Nasdaq. Everyone knows, right? The safer one, the better one is over here, right? And this is what we do over here. We're looking for those corrections. We're waiting for those trend line breaks and for price to come out, right? And everyone knows and everyone is aware, and that's how you do it, right? But that's as much time as I could give to Tesla. Let's talk about Bitcoin over here on the 8-hour, right? On that retest and resumption. And let's make sure that we focus in and get it right over here. And, if you were taking this trade, now you don't have momentum with you. Everyone knows until we break above the most important trend line in crypto that you don't have the momentum, in my opinion, to be trading. Like, you want to trade when the current's with you. Right now, we are in a reaccumulation phase. It's choppy out there. There's no need. This is a time to be like, looking to make those spot purchases, in my opinion. Dollar cost average and make sure you're getting in. But if you're taking this trade over here, breakout, retest, resumption, where's your stop loss? A lot of people go for the tight stop loss. I would not do that. I want my stop loss underneath where I know I'm wrong, which is price breaking below the breakout, below the trend line of the breakout, which should hold that support. Down over this area, we've got some bodies over here, right? So put in my stop loss. I know I'm wrong under here, by the way, underneath that peak over there, right around, just below 3,100. And look at that, like whatever that risk is, come on, what are you looking at here to the upside? I mean, it's just a massive risk to reward. Don't be too tight with your stop losses. You're doing it wrong. Don't be too tight. Don't be too greedy that you think that you need to make more money by having your stop loss so tight. Loosen it up, manage your risk, manage your position, and do it right. You come into this area over here that we pointed out, $36,000, 36,300 into the resistance, you're moving your stop loss to break even if you get there. That's how you do it. Conquering the markets all day long. If you're not with us, if you're not part of the CTM training program, join us. We would love to have you. There's a link in the description below. Everyone, have a beautiful day. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you all in a little bit.